Well, what's going on, guys? Yeah, another night when I'm wet. Normally during this time I'd be doing a dark log because she would be unsettled and then I would have to deal with her in the middle of the night. But yeah, well, we're having some arguments and differences at this point over here. I just came across a video from the Majority Report. Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland taking a call from Palmdale, California, and regarding a gentleman who still has a thing about Lordship Rex Parris of Lancaster, California. When I got into this town, actually in this valley back in '05, I didn't have a clue what the hell was going on out here because I never dealt with anything of the Antelope Valley. The San Fernando Valley, City of Los Angeles, County of Los Angeles was my territory. But did I ever think about the high desert that I'm in right now be part of it? No. So imagine my surprise when I got into the politics of this area here. I mean, yeah, we had television coverage throughout Southern California, mostly. A little bit of Ventura, Oxnard area, Santa Clarita, Saugus area. Yeah, that'd be part of LA. And then we would have things happening in the city of Los Angeles proper, and in the communities after that, Orange County, we'd be dealing with that, and maybe a little bit of San Diego if it actually intrudes in our territory. San Bernardino and Riverside. Now, if anybody's happened to do Google Maps at this point, my hands are tied because she must be obeyed. She insisted. She kept whining at me like crazy, so she's in the penalty box. Okay, guys, so if you're into Google Maps, and I'm going to be sending a copy of this video over to Mr. Cedar and Miss Vigeland. I understand she got married, last month? Congratulations. There's a lot more bachelors crying over this one now. Now, this is coming from an old fart anyway, so. Okay, get back to Google Maps. Type out San Fernando Valley, California. And when you see the little wedge blob right there, kind of whitenish shot until you see Southern California, this is my territory. This is the territory I lived in all my life. And this is the stuff. And you'll see a large swath of territory there. Now, too bad the Google Maps don't do political maps. Otherwise, you'd be seeing the map with political lines all over the damn place. Out in the upper regions of LA County is the wedge area called the Antelope Valley, and it is split between Kern, which takes care of northern, while there's a split right by Avenue A below. Avenue A is doing lateral, which means if you see the shape, well then it's about like this. Kern County, LA County, and it's split right along Avenue A area somewhere. Of course, there is an actual road that goes straight through the arrow, through the wedge, into the mountain regions, into the 5, goes up the Grapevine. That's Highway 138, or otherwise known as Avenue D out here. So truckers and alternate route to get past any situations happen within the passes, especially when you're heading through when you're dealing with I-5. So let's get on with it, guys. So the little blotch that you see down below called Lancaster, California. I got into that particular territory about '07. And I lived there for about '07 to '12. But during that, between '05 and '07, I was living in Palmdale. Palmdale, we already had Jim Ledford and his issues concerning about financial situations, sticky fingers, and everything else going on, reported by the AV Press. The AV Press was the daily newspaper. They don't have a television station proper out here to take care of it. We get satellite signals and cable signals from the LA major networks, and we also get the three majors. Well, actually 4 or 5 maybe. Yeah. Back then, Spectrum, now it's Charter, and God knows what else they would call it these days. But, or Time Warner Cable used to be known as. So they would carry all the LA news. We would follow what happens well below the AV. If we had a chase, if we had a major fire out here in the Antelope Valley, that's what we would cover. Any major drug busts, that they would cover as well. Of course, they would have the press conferences over at the Palmdale or Lancaster Sheriff's Department. And when I got out here, I've heard through grapevine and also through the papers of the stuff happening with Palmdale. And then I started reading about Lancaster and Rex Parris getting into it. Rex Parris started his business a long time ago as an ambulance chaser. Built his legal empire to a quote-unquote successful empire. Meaning he got more real estate, more office space, because he was getting more clients, hiring more attorneys, getting his name out there that he wants to clean up crime in the city of Lancaster. And before you knew it, the guy did win a spot on the council and then became mayor. At least that's what the stories were told. And soon he really had a hatred against the homeless. I think he had a hatred before he got in office, because that's what got to burp his asses. The homeless population out here is almost double to what City of Los Angeles and County of Los Angeles is, because we get a lot of them out here. We have in the city of Lancaster, and not much in the city of Palmdale, we have very few shelters, a lot of church groups that are doing food giveaways. There's even a resource center up in Lancaster on I and H8, I think. No, not H. Yeah, no, it's I and Sierra Highway. That's it. I and Sierra Highway area. It's north of the Metrolink station up in Lancaster. And they deal with a lot of resources to help the homeless and the low income as much as they can. They get donations from a lot of people, a lot of sources for food giveaways and host classes and stuff. Working with the homeless community like crazy. They even become a surrogate mailbox center if one needed it. It comes in handy, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so we have a lot of homeless, but they have a hard time trying to find a place to live. Out here they've got this thing about NIMBY, not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. We have them pushed, shoved, and Sheriff's Department's been trying to incarcerate, but 72 hours later, they're out in the streets again, and they're camping out different areas, but they're camping out. Parris had this attitude against the homeless. He'd been trying to get the homeless shipped from Antelope Valley into city proper of LA. And then he kept complaining to the city councils and the LA Board of Supervisors, LA County Board of Supervisors, to get rid of the homeless out of Lancaster and out of Antelope Valley, because he knew that the LA Sheriff's Department were sending them back. Of course, we could never prove that situation, but we heard the stories coming from the homeless people. And here's the thing about it, guys. And addressing this over to Miss Emma Veglin and Sam Cedar. You see, all we have is the rumors and innuendos, but also we get the newspaper reports left and right. And then we just pass out the story. But it's not covered with the major networks, guys. What the caller was trying to explain in the situation here is all the major networks only cover outside of Antelope Valley. We have a news service hooked up to Spectrum, but they're also doing the national chain as well. They don't do the local. We don't have news guys out here. We have independents who go on Facebook and YouTube and try to report the news as much as they can. They'll get the scanner calls. Some people will try to go out there and see what the hell's going on. There had been some Facebook channels of people actually doing live videos of what's happening and asking people left and right. So we would get little snippets here and there on Facebook and on YouTube, and that's it. I'm waiting for my computer, well, one of them anyway, to work up here. Now, what's my involvement in all this situation? Well, I lived in the San Fernando Valley and LA County / LA City / San Fernando Valley for 38 years. But beginning two of them was out in Huntington Park area. So when I was a 2-year-old tot, my mother and my brother had moved up to the San Fernando Valley, lived out there in North Hollywood for several years. My brother 8 years older than I was. And he went through elementary and junior high. And we moved to another new neighborhood, and he began a busing situation with a high school, which he graduated and went into the Navy. I got a YouTube channel myself, Diary of a Griever Named John Weaver, which is me. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you happen to see anything crawling around, any black streaks or anything else weird coming on the camera, do not freak. This is bug war I've got out here. We have bug war in the Antelope Valley. There are certain places that are inundated left and right. Now, I did tell you about Google Maps, right? Okay, so I'm going to get into Google Maps myself. I guess I need to. Because I am an audiovisual kind of guy. This is going to be a long video, guys. So, be warned. And besides, my hand's already full and tied up right now, so I got to do everything with one hand. While the other hand is just getting tired out because of She Must Be Obeyed, my dog. Well, you deal with a caregiving situation about an elderly senior 20-year-old snot-nosed brat dog. I love her. That's my dog. Okay, so while I'm in the San Fernando Valley here, moved out to Antelope Valley here. I'm looking on Google Maps. I'm looking at the wedge, guys. Now keep this in mind. We have, as I said before, we have zero television coverage out here. We have population for it. We have population regarding Palmdale. We got population in Lancaster. But above that line of Avenue D, that line that goes from Sierra Ohio, which is going up and down from the arrow, and then heading east to west to the edge. Well, a few blocks from that is the county boundary of LA County. Thank you very much. Please don't do that on me again. And I wanted to show you where the boundary for Kern County is. And there's a reason why I talk about this one, guys. There's a reason why I talk about this one. Because down below, they'll deal with LA. And strictly LA issues. Up here in Kern County, we haven't got any television. We got television coverage for LA, but we don't have enough of it for Kern. We do have television stations out in Bakersfield that will cover one particular network of Sinclair, which is basically conservative, trumplicate, bullshit networks. But they will cover the local news happening within Central Valley area, at least southern area of it anyway. So while you have the Google Maps and you see the wedge of the Antelope Valley, move the valley downward by using your cursor and your mouse until you see the greenish area right above the mountain lines of the Tehachapi's, and then you see Bakersfield. That'll be in the northwest area. So you see from that thing That's what they focus on. That's what the local news will cover is that central area. If anything happens below the mountainside, we hardly ever get any coverage from Sinclair Network. Even though they will do Fox, they may do NBC Network, but they'll modify their stations and material over there, be more propagandist. But below that, in the wedge area, we have communities such as Rosamond, where I'm from, currently broadcasting this one here, right next to Edwards Air Force Base. Above us, we have Mojave, and we got California City. A little further north, we have Ridgecrest. Major territories that we have over here. Not to mention this is trucking and shipping area. We have cargo freight trains coming through here, but no passenger routes. We have transportation coming from Bakersfield into LA County proper through buses. And when a caller was saying about military, well, this was military town before it grew up into a civilian town. World War II, they needed an air base to test out and to educate pilots and machinery. Hence, we got Edwards Air Force Base. But as the Antelope Valley started growing in population, they also needed a separate air base, a manufacturing base. So, if you go into the Lancaster Palmdale area, that's the southern portion of the wedge. It's divided by one street called Avenue M that separates it. Avenue M is the hub of Plant 42. We have several aerospace industry places over here, including Skunk Works. Thank you, Lockheed, for moving out of the San Fernando Valley into the desert. We have repair, we have testing, we have expeditions. But it's also an active military base as well, because it is an extension of Edwards Air Force Base. We also have a hub for communications that deals with FAA. We're one of the communication hubs out here. That gives you a little bit of a brief background of what we're dealing with here in the Antelope Valley. Now, we talked about homeless, right? We've had the homeless out here well before I knew about it. I didn't grow up in the Antelope Valley. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. So let me show you that blob of grease again. Down below on the southwest side of the arrow, you'll see Santa Clarita, you'll see Valencia, and then you see the blob of grease with a few freeway veins in it. Well, that's home for 38 years. A lot of communities in this place. They tried in one particular election, I think it was late 90s, that they wanted to separate from the city of Los Angeles and had formed their own city. But it didn't pass in the referendums that they had. So, nothing happened. Nothing happened. So it's just a bunch of communities tied in together, just like city of Los Angeles down below. We have the city proper itself within a 3 or 4 block radius of each other. But then we got communities surrounding it that's still part of LA County, but also part of LA City as well. So this is the kind of home I grew up in. San Fernando Valley was indeed home for 38 years in that place. We had aerospace, and we chased out the military. We had National Guard out here, Air National Guard. But because the population of density was increasing so much, and complaints of noise, and probably because we had a base relocation commission going on, they shut down and transferred out the Air National Guard units we had at an airport in the middle of the San Fernando Valley. I moved them out to Oxnard, Ventura County area. Homeless had increased a great deal in among the streets, but even among the streets that we have closer to LA and other areas. You've heard of the infamous Skid Row? Yeah, well, that's also in the area, right by City Hall and surrounding territories. The caller was talking about Antelope Valley because they were afraid, and probably I never could quite confirm the rumors. I heard it from a lot of people. I never could quite confirm it though. But I did see a lot of homeless in Lancaster, but not much in Palmdale. Here's the difference. Palmdale, we do have some churches out there, but they don't do enough of the outreach to the homeless. And we don't have any homeless shelters. It's Lancaster that has maybe one or two shelters. It's like 1 out of 10 can get into the shelter. As for food, you're not going to starve. Not much anyway. Parris really got sick and tired of seeing and hearing the reports about homeless people attacking others. But we didn't hear enough of the attack. We didn't hear any of the attacks like that. We heard people attacking the homeless people. We've heard about homeless people going into alleyways and living in the alleyways, or even along the railroad track areas we have. If I can show you something, guys. I said before, I'm sending this one over to Sam Cedar, and I'm in Bigland, so I just wanted to show you LA's version of homelessness. I'm going to show you the railroad tracks that we have leading all the way up and down the Antelope Valley, starting with Lancaster Station area. You can type into search engines, Google. You can type out Lancaster Railroad or something like that. Me, on the other hand, I'm following the 14 freeway. That's the freeway we've got extending from Santa Clarita all the way north, well past Mojave, and splits off. But right near the 14 freeway, we have a street called Sierra Highway. Now, because the 14 freeway is kind of a little bit wonky and angled a bit, Sierra is also one that stretches out from the San Fernando Valley area, and it heads all the way north. And this is a recognized federal highway, not state. Well, I take that back. It's not federal. It's state. It's state highway. But they never designated with a number, though. Just Sierra Highway. It's along this corridor that we actually have the homeless people living in the railroad area, that the railroad companies usually have a field day, and so does the LA County Sheriff's Department. Recently, over the past 4 months or so, City of Lancaster finally got an auxiliary police unit. They call it the City of Lancaster Police. That's supposed to be helping out with LA County Sheriff. Now, keep this in mind, guys, okay? Keep this in mind. It is an incorporated city that we have for Lancaster, but they had to borrow constantly services of fire and sheriff and anything else they could get out of LA County because they couldn't build their own services here. But they finally built up a security force. And the stories that we heard were coming from people who are having run-ins with Los Angeles County sheriffs all the time, because they would push them and shove them different areas left and right. Well, homeless have nowhere else to go. They're NIMBY. And because we had that Supreme Court decision coming from Oregon, it screwed everybody in the United States. If you're homeless, you're NIMBY. Not in my backyard. Get out of here. That's how it is all over now. It doesn't matter how many cities are going to be sanctuary or how they're going to be trying to deal with the homeless situation. We've got an administration that doesn't give a shit about it. And Parris is one of those of the lower lives that wants to get rid of homeless. I'd be sending a lot of videos over to you guys. For those who regularly watch the channel, you know where to look at. Because I do talk about the homeless. Sometimes I do label them, sometimes I don't. I should be labeling these things more. My fault. But we have people with financial situations, economic situations, emotional situations, health situations. Whatever the kind of situation is, they can't get a home for themselves. Either they get voluntarily walked out there because they can't deal with anything else, or they get tossed on their ass. Two ways to get out of your home, dude. Either it's rental or property you own, doesn't matter. You get tossed on your ass. It doesn't matter which age. Be a kid, all the way through an old fart. That's how we have it out here in California. That's how we have it out here. Now, can I put you down so you can start whining like crazy? You're going to be whining like crazy, right? Okay. It's 12:18 in the morning, and I've got bug war all over the damn place. Yeah, so how's your homes these days? Are you filled with roaches? Does it fill you with glee, or does it fill you with absolute depression? Anyway, my videos talk about that one in detail as well. So, right along the Sierra Highway corridor, I mean, you could type out Sierra Highway, California, or just Sierra Highway, Lancaster, California. You'll get to a stretch of it. You'll see that the numbers are going up and down. They're going north and south, and the letters are east to west. And sometimes there'll be names the same way. Don't ask me why. I didn't label this whole damn place. It's crazy enough anyway. But getting over to Avenue I, okay, Avenue I, it is where the railroad goes through for both cargo and passenger. Right along certain areas, there would be encampments. And if some of the people actually wanted to live in desert regions, they've got areas that are not filled with housing or buildings. Or maybe we do have a few empty buildings here and there that become homeless property. But even past H, and it's still part of LA County, not part of the city of Lancaster, that we still have homeless living in the desert regions with tent areas. But the corridor that they normally would live under is the Sierra Highway right by the trains, or actually right along the train tracks. See what I mean by telling you about whining like crazy? I deal with an elderly dog, over 20 years old, blind, deaf, and very much of a brat dog, spoiled. I put her down just to get my arm, get some blood circulation, and then she starts yelling at me left and right. So apologize for that. Give me a second. I gotta put her under her covers again. Sorry about that. It's a lot of information. I mean, only about 3 or 4 minutes, almost 5 minutes that you allowed the guy to talk about. And he was just blathering about how much he liked to be on your show and him getting recognized. He ought to be doing his own YouTube channel and have fun with it. I've been part of that community for the homeless. I've been there. I know what it's like to get your ass tossed out. Hell, I'm a renter all my life. So I know what it's like between 1 to 5 years if you live in a property. It's time for you to move out. Why? Because things happen. Even within less than a year, you get tossed out in the air for one reason or another. I've lived in one particular piece of property for about 12 years before actually moving out here to the Antelope Valley with my family. Personal note, you see the cabinet on my left? Top shelf is the ashes I have from my family and my dogs. Running solo here. Ma was back in 2013, Dave was back in 2018. And I still miss him. Personal touch. She goes. She's under the covers, and she's still going to be whining her head off. She can't stand the darkness, and she can't stand being alone all the time. You try being a caregiver, guys, and not just to a dog, but to a caregiver to anybody else. It takes a lot out of you. But this was kind of information I wanted to give you concerning about the neighborhood that we were living in. I don't know who this guy was. I don't know where he lives. But I do know that since I've been out here since '05, I've seen a lot of stuff happening within this Antelope Valley. Too many damn fires. Uh, experienced homeless once. I've experienced evictions a few times. Shit happens. And I know how a neighborhood can react and not react. I could talk more about this place, but she must be obeyed. Needs to be taken care of. No, that's not a real name. That's the thing I keep insulting her with. She's the mama's. Alright, guys. I'll do a second video when I can.